Tonight we've got Raj and his family. They're all here. I don't know how many are coming up, but we bought properties in 2018 out in Hondo, Texas, which is about an hour west of here. And we had a different set of mentors. We had a different set of consultants back then, but he and I kind of grew up in multifamily together. So come on up and let's talk about your deal.
Here in the middle. How you doing, Raj? Good to see you.
Good evening. Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Like Jeffrey mentioned, we did grind teeth together. My name is Raj. This is my wife, Kelly, or Kunjal. She goes by Kelly.
I skipped over all this stuff. Sorry.
You can go back and get it later.
Yeah. So we joined Lifestyle in 2017, maybe 2 years after he did. I'm by profession an engineer. I worked for Spectrum, which is a company out here. I think they're national. It used to be called Time Warner Cable, but I've been in engineering industries for about 20 years, and we've dabbled into hotels. I grew up in hotels because my dad operated hotels, so we got into the hotel business while I was still an engineer. My wife handled most of the business end of it, and then we actually got into single family before I even discovered Lifestyle. So I do have a lot of real estate experience prior to, but when I heard Dell on the radio, we had an aha moment.
Can you go back a slide? Because I had a question on the pictures here. I was worried when I first saw these pictures that you were going to say this is before and after, and that the apartment gave you gray hair on the right-hand side.
I guess you could almost say that.
He didn't have as many gray hairs before we got out there.
So
Jeff and I don't have any
It's
gray
hard
hair.
to read the slide from here, but our background, like I said, I'm an engineer. Kelly actually has 2 masters.
Woo.
One in mathematics, another one in computer science. Although she loves education, she doesn't want to work for somebody, so she never worked for anybody. So, did you want to say? No. So, okay, she's stage fright. So, as you can see, we actually got married in 1998. So today is our silver anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And starting to buy apartments didn't destroy it. That's great.
So Jeff called me and like, hey, Raj, I forgot to tell you, can you do a case study on the 14th? I'm like, okay.
Did he get?
We want to give back.
Did he get permission?
Hey,
did
he
get
didn't
permission
tell me
first?
any of that.
No.
Oh
No,
man,
but we
you
know-
owe her a
I know
big
she
dinner
loves-
somewhere.
Yeah. Well, to make it up, I just bought her a new car. No, we bought her a new car today.
Well done.
She was running her Sienna on the last leg, so we had to get a new one. But yeah, so we do have our 2 daughters here as well. Disha, who's actually an aspiring lead. She just graduated from UT
All right.
Austin in biology. But she also did business minor, so she always tagged along with me whenever we come to these events, so she loved it.
I can pause you for a second. People first hear about lifestyles and they come in and they go, oh, it's a scam, right? Who would let their daughter get involved with it if it was a scam?
Yeah.
My kids are involved too. That's what it tells you about the integrity of the group.
And after spending $75,000 in college. But no, my thing was making sure she got her college and not wake up 10, 15 years later, like, what would happen if I went to college, right? So that it was money well spent. What else? Mathematics.
So tell us about why you joined. What was the reasoning behind joining Lifestyles?
So like I mentioned earlier, we were already in business. I was working for 20 years, and I knew what corporate life, like Greg mentioned, in 2007. We had a similar experience in 2001. I used to work for a company called Nortel Networks out of Canada. They're a Canadian company. And in 2001, we had a similar crash during that .com, and they were laying off people left and right. It didn't matter if you were 15 years, 20 years working there, you were gone. The bean counters didn't care. Mm-hmm. So that's when it woke me up, and I said, we got to do something, and that's when we got into the hotel business, because that's what I knew at the time. So we moved to Texas from California. We were in California at the time. So that's why we joined. And obviously, we were, like I said, we were in rental property also, but the single family, but we kept hitting like a scale where we can't scale higher than a few properties because you have all these different vendors you have to work with. So.
Right, yeah, it's a little different business model for sure. So let's start talking about your first lead deal.
So this property is in Hondo, which, like Jeffrey said, it was actually, the seller had two property they were selling. This was 108 units, and the other one Jeffrey purchased was 48 units. Because we bought it together in lifestyle, through lifestyles, we were able to get a much better deal because if they sold both properties, they gave us a good deal. But if you only bought one, then obviously they asked you a lot more price. So we were able to tackle it together, and we collaborated with each other on color schemes and what kind of things to upgrade. So you could pretty much see the properties were identical inside.
Yeah, we shared everything, including
Everything.
management.
Including management. So because this was a bigger property, we had our management under our team, but we shared with Jeffrey with the manager, maintenance, everything. So it made it more efficient for us, like synergistically.
So the slide talks about you purchased it for $6.3 million. So your down payment, if you will, or the cash out of pocket on this deal was 2.1. Where did you get that 2.1 million? Was that all your money? Was that
Definitely not our money because we don't have that kind of money yet.
Yeah, trying to get there. Yeah, absolutely. We all are.
But apparently Henry
So-
Novak can find you money in your 401k.
No, actually, I wanted to
used
shout
it
out
too,
to him
okay.
because he's the one that put money for us. So yeah, Henry helped
So
us.
where
on
did
that.
you come up with the 2.1 million that you needed to be able to purchase this property?
So I know Greg and them are mentioning passive investors. So basically, it'd be investors just like everybody in here, that in the group. We reach out to everybody, we present the deal to them. Like, here's the deal, here's the location, here's the numbers we can get on it, and that's how we start getting people's interest on looking at the deal. And we do have like different levels of investments that we offer.
Well, so you've got 40 investors on that deal, or you had 40 investors on that deal. What was the lowest invested amount?
The
on that
lowest, so when I first joined in 2017, I initially started as a passive investor myself. So we did get into about 2 or 3 deals, but everybody was asking like 100,000 or 75,000 minimum, and we didn't have that kind of money. So we're like, So I actually opened up my first deal at 25,000 minimum, which a lot of other investors, lead investors do open that up, but they have a limit of how many they'll take. And unfortunately, I didn't turn the knob off, and I actually ended up too many 25,000, which is okay. I mean, 40 is not bad to deal with, but
So
I was glad.
so $25,000. You had a number of those investors. You come up with 25 grand. You could have been invested in this deal.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So
And you wish you would have after you see all the
yeah,
numbers.
after you look at all the numbers, right? So you owned it for a couple of years. Looks like we refied in 2021.
Correct.
Had a killer interest rate, and you were able to return a pretty good sum of money to your investors at that point.
That's correct. Yeah, we held the property for 4 years, but we bought it in 2018 December, and when the rate started crashing, I mean, we got in, when we purchased, I got in at 4.83, but then when it crashed, we got it at 3.2, I believe, and I got a 5-year IO, I believe, and a 10-year loan
IO
at that
stands
time.
for?
Interest only.
12-year loan.
So yeah, basically it was such a smoking deal I couldn't pass it up. And actually, I got that advice from one of my mentors. He wasn't a lifestyle mentor, but he was another one of our leads that I asked him about it. Like, hey, why don't you refinance it? So that's
Yeah, so we have a meeting once a month, everybody across the state, where the owners, the leads, will get together and we'll talk about everything going on in the market. And sometimes it's, hey, maybe it's time to refi your properties. We talk about insurance. We talk about everything. So good information comes out of the collective group on this. And man, that looks like that paid off really well. So dig into the numbers just a little bit. These are numbers based on a monthly cash flow statement. So
correct. Yeah, so income, we're getting 91K, obviously, on the slide here at 43. NOI is the net operating income we're getting at 48,000. Towards the end, we started about 6% in the beginning, like the first year or something, cash returning money to people. But then we got towards the end, like 9.5% is what we're returning distributions. I'm sorry, this is money we're giving out every quarter, or it's actually yearly, but we give out every quarter.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
so-
an annualized number.
Annualized number, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So what did you do with this property to be able to raise the income, all of that type of stuff?
So off the bat, like we actually purchased this property. Both properties were purchased from an agent, LEU agent. So she's the one that brought it to us. We have these case studies, or not case studies, acquisition road trips. And this property was presented to, or this one was presented to me, the other one was to Jeffrey. And so we were told at the time, when they do research, like the actual agent for Lifestyle also mentioned to you, like they do their own analysis of the property or whatnot. They said you could get $100 without even doing anything, like upgrading your rent to $100 right off the bat. So like, okay. So we started adding, Jeffrey and I, we collaborated. We got new ceiling fans, like LED lights, conserve light bills and stuff like that for the residents. So we're helping residents as well. So we did a lot of changes from flooring to painting to resurfacing countertops. Backsplash is another one we added there. And it's hard to see from the pictures here, but that backsplash is not the tile one. That's not the real one. If you've seen it up close, I mean, it lists a 3D, and I got it off of Amazon, not to promote Amazon or anything, but but there's basically one of those sticky types, but it's the more quality one, not the one you get at Home Depot. They're a little bit more quality. And it's three-dimensional, so it looks real. If you're standing like this far away, it looks like it's real.
And it changes the dynamic when you walk into that kitchen. Just something little touches, little finishes make all the difference in the world, especially when you've got a competitive renter, right? And they're looking around and they come in and they want to see something that makes them feel good about renting there, something good about living there.
Yeah, and because we were like out there in the tertiary market, we also kind of have to cater to the types of clientele there. They're not looking for like type A, class A kind of stuff. So anything like this makes it, oh wow, that looks nice. Oh, and then we also installed various things on the property, like the playground was brand new. The pergola, stuff like that. We added on there. We also were working on a dog park, but we didn't complete it. We just put the fence up and a few little things inside. Yeah,
one of the things that neither one of the properties had out there was very much in the way of amenities. They were located close to things, located close to the schools, they're well located in the community, but they just didn't have anything.
Correct.
They didn't have a pool. They didn't have a dog park. They didn't have playgrounds. They didn't have anything. I mean, they were apartments and a courtyard and an office, and that was it.
We actually got lucky on this property. We literally had a recreation center right next door, so we didn't need a pool. We're like, just go next door.
That's the best kind of pool.
Yeah, the pool that somebody else has to maintain, right?
No maintenance.
Exactly. So this is another slide that's going to talk about the first couple of years that you own the property. You talked about the cash-on-cash return and how that worked out. Year 3 was right before the refi.
Correct.
So you guys did a phenomenal job on the income side. You did a really good job of controlling expenses. One of the things to notice here is while the income goes up, the expenses go up too, right? Somebody mentioned it earlier, we're not slumlords. We don't suck all the cash out of the deals. We maintain the buildings, we maintain the properties, we make sure that we are giving our residents a quality place to live, best product, best price. And so as your income increases, you're able to, and sometimes forced to, have your expenses increase because of insurance and taxes and things like that. But Raj and his family, they did a phenomenal job of maintaining this property, but also executing on their business plan and providing phenomenal returns for their investors.
Jeff, I want to leverage off of what you were just saying. I totally agree with you. If you look at the apartment space, and we're going to talk about this on Sunday, there's really kind of a continuum on how people run apartments. On one end, you have the way Lifestyles does it, which is best product, best price. You saw all the upgrades that they put in there, all the money, how nice they made it. On the other end, you have the slumlords. And what they typically do is they focus in on cutting costs. And they will come in and they say, well, if we just don't fix the dishwashers, then we can save $10. But what happens to those properties over time? They go down. Where ours end up in a virtuous cycle where you keep making it better, better, and nicer, which is part of the reason that expense line goes up.
Talk about what the maintenance guy was used to doing when we took over. What did he do? We had to completely retrain him.
They always do Band-Aid fixes a lot.
Yeah, so it was bubble gum and duct tape, man. If he could bubble gum it together, he would make it work.
You put it in, it will come off, so not 2 weeks, month later, you're going to have to go back again, do another call.
Now, what's
it gets
weird,
more expensive that way.
What just blows me away about the slumlord mentality is sometimes they're big organizations. There's actually a guy in Houston that probably owns 10,000 doors, dozens of apartment complexes across the United States, and that is his business model. Oftentimes, it's Lifestyles people that are picking up when he runs that thing so far into the ground it can't recover. He sells it at a fire sale. We bring the money, lift it up, just like you saw the pictures here.
Yep. So we talked about some of the renovation, talked about some of the things you added to the property. So just kind of real quick, what were some of the items? We talked about some of this already, of course.
Yeah, a
but
lot of the stuff I mentioned already. HVAC was another item that in HVAC is like in Texas, you gotta have your AC working.
And if you haven't been to Hondo, Texas, it's at least 5 degrees warmer there than it is anywhere else in the state of Texas.
Because it's all open too. So, but yeah, HVAC was quite a few amount of money we put in there. Gutters is another one we added because what happens, it was all 2 stories. So when the water falls, it just makes the bottom area really dirty looking. So we're constantly having to pressure wash it. So we put gutters in there to avoid that. So it was a little bit costly. But then appliances and stuff like that we went.
We talk about spending money, you think about going out and putting a playground setup or something like this, and we talked about this. $18,000 on a playground set that you have to be able to get the certain kind that's the right for insurance purposes. You have to spend the right amount of money to do the right thing. So this is what they did for their residents. There's a ton of kids, ton of families that live at this property.
We have 3 schools at this property right around it, so a lot of kids.
For a year, you watched the residents and then decided, hey, this is something that we can add. We're not going to get any more income off of it, but it's going to make it a nicer place to live for the residents. So
they used to have a volleyball court where we put the playground, and in communities, people don't really, even though they live so close to each other, they don't want to know each other that well, right? It's like, I don't know you. I mean, for volleyball stuff, you really need to have a team of people come out and play all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why we went that.
So we'll touch on the numbers again. The big thing on this screen right here is down at the bottom, right? So when they did sell this property back in March this year.
End of March is when we
they were able, over 4 years, they were able to return to their investors 195% of their original investment. So he basically doubled everybody's money that had originally
actually
invested.
That 195 is after we returned the initial.
That was
capital.
after
profit.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
profit.
that's
So-
profit.
So if
you
you
go.
put in
So
a dollar, you
triple.
got $2.95 back, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
Who would want that kind of return on investment? Everybody, right?
Yeah, this was a beautiful, beautiful property.
Now, I'm going to pull an audible here. So, Raj, to get these kinds of returns, you must have found some total sucker from California or Israel to buy that property, right?
Actually, no.
Who bought that property?
Do I really want to?
This sucker right here.
This sucker right there bought it. But hey,
Jeff, have you been happy with that property?
I've been phenomenally happy with that property.
he knows this property very well. Yeah,
People
he
don't
knows.
understand that outside of lifestyles. They're like, we made so much money, the next guy's going to just get crushed. No, we'll show you during the 2-day how it is very frequent for lifestyles members to have a property change hand from lifestyle member to lifestyle member. I've seen one in Dallas it's been 5 lifestyle members in a row. And they've all done well.
There's so many reasons, and Raj, they've got their reasons for selling. But I grew up in this community, spent a lot of time in this community, so I know this community.
Yeah, and
really well.
we're from Dripping Springs, so we're like 2 hours away, 2.5.
It's way more
So
convenient.
It's way far, and and a lot of my investors in this deal actually were calling me, and they all jumped into with him too. So
Yeah, we had
they're still in the property.
We had a bunch.
They made
of
the money,
repeat
and they're
investors.
still invested again.
Yeah. So it was really good for him, and hey, we just pass the torch and keep
It worked
going.
out good.
So how has joining Lifestyles, how has your life changed in the short time that you've been a member of Lifestyles?
So I would say the biggest thing that opened up my eyes from Dell's speech when we first joined in 2017, we went to the expo, and we didn't even do any 2 days or didn't even attend a case study. We just went to the expo, and because he just blew my mind, we joined on that day. It's like I asked my wife, like, let's not even decide, let's not even go back home and try to think about this. We already knew at that point. So, but the biggest thing he mentioned too at that point.
Did you ask your wife this time?
Yeah, she was with me. She was with me. She was
All
with
right,
me.
because I was worried there was a pattern setting in there.
Although I'm always have to be let's make it. But anyway, so yeah, one thing he mentions, in that expo, he mentions I come from India, and people from other countries, they come here, they work hard, but what he mentioned is they seem to work in their business a lot. Like we operate hotels, we were always the one in the hotel running, the business. And he mentioned the biggest thing, you have to work on your business, right? You got to build your business. That just clicked on me, and that's the biggest thing I got out of that life from lifestyle. And since then, we've been doing that, just building. We completed our 3rd property. We're looking for our 4th property, but we're building our business right now.
Yep. So what's next? What are you guys going to do short term, long term, moving forward?
So acquiring our fourth property is what we're kind of focusing on, but at the same time, because I'm bringing my daughter as an aspiring lead, we're trying to focus more on her, trying to get her a deal first right off, because she's graduated now. She's gonna be looking for something. I gotta keep her busy. She's working with me.
She needs a job, right?
Yeah, she's like with me all the time. Like we're doing this together, so she knows ins and outs already. So it's just a matter of finding the right property. So
what a head start she's gonna have over where we started, right? I mean, that's
definitely.
That's amazing.
Yes, she's already got her feet wet.
So long term, looking 3, 4, 5, 6 years out, what are you looking at?
So both Kelly and I we always feel like we're simple people. I mean, if you see the way we live, or Toyotas are like our car. We're all Toyota people. My family's our Mercedes, BMW. Like we're okay. We're okay with it.
Ford.
So we're very Ford. But we're simple life. But we always love to give. Donate either money-wise or time-wise. Like she spends a lot of time with elderly people. Like sometimes because elders sometimes they have family even close by, but they don't go visit. And when they come in, when she goes sees, they just love. They talk a lot, but we love to give our time, money. So that's like our long-term goal, and hopefully we get to travel more. And
that's awesome. That's really, really cool. So talk about. I mean, your mentor's changed. I wasn't your mentor when you did this deal, but
I actually he's my third mentor. First one was Kim we were in Austin area, so we had Kim, and then we got Doug. When Kim retired, we went to Doug, and then when Doug retired, we got Jeffrey here. And then we also work with a lot of realty people from lifestyle. Like Nick is our latest one we're working with, but we had Linda, Renee and Linda were former. That we worked with quite a bit. Dotson Legal has been our first property actually was Henry. Henry helped us with the 401k as well as he also does the LLC stuff. So then we had Sherman Williams. We use quite a bit for our paint. So and these are all vendors mostly from Lifestyles vendor list.
Yeah, and it's been a challenge. You go out to a tertiary market and convince these people to come with you. And the vendor list, I mean, initially our renovation contractor, he was a vendor, all of that stuff. So it took a little while to get people to drive only an hour, but it's powerful to be able to plug into this network and have the vendors available to you.
Yeah, forget vendors, but I had Dell asked, my mentor at the time was Kim, and he asked like, where the hell is Hondo? Yeah, he wanted to invest.
I remember after we were done with due diligence, he was like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but have fun.
What's funny is like Hondo was like middle of nowhere, but then after the COVID hit, everybody wanted to get out of the city, and Hondo was like everybody wanted to go out there.
We didn't have any problems out there.
No problem renting. Yeah, we had no issues, and our judges were excellent. We could kick people out. Yep. They don't pay.
No pay, no stay.
Yeah.
That's the end of the presentation. So any questions for Roger Kelly? There's got to be some out here. Any online too.
We have investors.
Question over here.
We have investors in here too that were on this deal.
Who's an investor in this deal?
Yeah.
All right, that's great. What was your question?
You're talking about residents, right? The tenants?
Yeah, so the question was, if you have to evict somebody, is there a way that you can protect yourself from the government stepping in and invalidating the contractor and validating the ability to evict?
So prior to COVID, everything was easy, right? 3 days notice and boom, you're out, you didn't pay rent. After COVID, obviously they put in all these restrictions about 30-day notices and all that. We still had to follow, obviously, because we got the agency loans. But the problem the cities were having is even after 30 days you put your eviction stuff, you still had to fight through them to kick them out. Whereas in where we were, the judges were more on the landlord-friendly side, which supposed to be this whole state.
Yeah,
but
and the big cities like in Bexar County, they shut the courts down. And they just shut the courts down completely. They weren't hearing cases, Zoom cases. I mean, they do it now. They've got all the technology to be able to do it. In a lot of the tertiary markets, smaller towns, the judges were still going to work. The clerks were still going to work. So there was a little bit more insulation to that outside of the major metros.
Yeah, so we still followed the rules. It's not like we were not bypassing rules or anything.
There's really two things you want to look at when you're buying a property is what state is it in, because state law dictates a lot of it. And then you got to look at the circuit court you're in, or the court you're in, because sometimes there's a liberal judge in there, or sometimes they're having issues like that. And if you look at those two things and both of them are green lights, you're in great shape.
Yeah. You have to follow the lease. I mean, we've got there's promulgated forms that we, from an operations standpoint, the protections that we have a legal document that every resident signs that is the lease. And as long as you live and die by the letter of the lease, you've got the law on your side. And the lease swings, there's protections in there for the resident, just like there's protections in there for us. And it's a legal agreement, and for the most part, the courts enforce that. We just had a little bit of a headache in some of the other areas during COVID when they shut the courts down. There was nobody to hear the case. So you have to have some mediation in that point where a judge will actually listen and hear the case and make a judgment. So that was what we didn't have, is our courts didn't shut down in Medina County.
Now, if you buy an apartment in New York City or San Francisco, God bless you. You're never getting them out.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
Any other questions?
We don't have rent control yet either, so
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
good.
not yet.
Not yet.
Any other questions? Knocked it out of the park, man.
Give them a
You
huge
left
hand,
everybody
guys.
speechless.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you for spending.